Have I understand it? Okay. So I think I'll do roll call and we get started. I think we have to keep on. Is Linda not joining this or not?
I did not see her online.
Wait a minute.
We are streaming, so she can refer to the.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so the meeting of the ad hoc truck committee, 6 o'clock, GNA, we'll call the meeting to order. We have basically 2 agenda items tonight, follow up from our last meeting, related to requesting that the access highway that links Third to 9G be removed. And the process for doing that, the first step in that process is to send a letter to the traffic engineer. I think he's traffic engineer, we got his correct title, coordinator. The first step is to send a letter there saying that we want to have this removed, explaining why. Lee from Poughkeepsie told me that what usually happens after that is that they would then respond to me saying that they wanted a study looking at impact on various communities, and then they make a decision based. Right now we have 2 routes that were that come in through Hudson, this one, and the one that comes on 9 coming up from 9 South and going out on 9 North. So Donna has very graciously put together this draft letter to go to DOT. I'm thinking that it probably should come from me rather than from the either the president of the council or the mayor, because this would be our first step. We were looking for information, and it's not it's not like the decision to move forward. First of all, they have to approve, and then the city has to approve. So I'm thinking that if we send it from this committee saying this is what we're interested in doing, and then we get information on next steps. So the first paragraph just lays out, and you should all have received this. I copied you all on it. So I don't know, Jason, if you got the document.
So it's up on.
And you all have Word versions because I
got it.
So if you want to annotate it or whatever, you can send it back to me. The first one simply says you want to change one of these, specifically the one on 9G. And then we reference the 2 pages, and we took out and attached the 2 pages, page 28 and 34, where these 2 routes are referenced. The one that we're trying to eliminate is on page 28. And then we have the rationale for why it was put in place back in the 80s was for LNB Products Terminal, which is no longer in operation, since it went bankrupt. And then we have some background on some of the issues regarding trucks in the city, and the reason for wanting to remove that. So that's what we've got in terms of the letter. So I'm going to stop and see what your comments are. I did not get any edits. I only got it yesterday, I think. So do you have comments this evening? Any edits? Are you generally in agreement with this? It's fine with me.
Fine.
Yeah. Okay.
But, I have a comment specifically on the letter content, but
Ronnie, I've been checking people up, but I didn't do roll call. So just be sorry. For roll call, we have Ronnie, Morris, Duan, Aptus, Linda Musman, Donna, we have, Thomas not here, and I also see that Vicky, from the council is, conflict of right. So sorry, yeah, that's roll call. Go ahead, Ronnie.
Yeah, so my comment was, I mean, I think it's a good idea to address the letter with our truck committee, but I also think it might go pretty far if we were to list the members of the committee, because it is a diverse group of people, especially that we have two sitting supervisors as well as community members. I think that would go pretty far, so that it is, the committee is not just a few people, but it is the entire community coming together to work on this for the betterment of the community. I think as a contact information, I think you should be the top contact person, but just to,
No, I agree with you. I think that's a very good point. We can add that. I think actually, we should put a little background about the fact that we have this committee and the makeup of the committee and so forth. We can put that.
There is a
maybe
reference.
It's at the
about the
back,
committee,
but if
but-
we move that to the front and expand more on the membership of the committee, and then at the end, you can have all of the committee members listed. With a CC, I think, yes,
Did
sir.
you discuss what I sent to you today?
Oh, I didn't see what you sent me today. I was working on something else.
Oh, okay. I had our attorney review this letter and she agreed that this really should be put before the entire council.
No, I was just gonna say that.
And the mayor.
Right, so
Okay.
what we're doing right now is discussing it with this committee to see if anyone has any comments, such as Ronnie's and so forth. And then my next thing that I was gonna say was this, and you walked in the door. The next step is that this will go to the council
Got
to
it.
see if the council can agrees that we send it to DOT.
Thank you.
And then are there any CCs to be included?
I think we
besides
should
the committee
CC,
members?
the president of the council and possibly the mayor. The mayor was
You're saying
originally,
just send, this letter is just for us internally.
no, this letter is going to go to the Department of Transportation, but it's a multi-step process. Where we have two access routes going to Hudson.
I know what the letter says. I know.
But the process is that we send a letter to this Charleston person, that's the contact that he gave me at DOT. Requesting this change, they then respond back to us for what we need to do to give them information on the change, and then it goes on.
I'm asking who's we? Are you gonna first submit this letter to the general?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, of course it's gonna go to the council.
Okay.
I'm just saying this is the process. Once,
Yeah, no,
when the council approves, then we send it to the
Got it.
DOT and then we move forward. Any other
Yeah,
edits
so just let, this goes to the council first. This
before
letter,
it goes to DOT?
okay, that was a little confusing to me.
We have to get approval from the council for that.
Okay, I was a little confused, I thought it was, anyway, it's fine, that's all good.
What did you think?
I just thought you were going to do that after, it doesn't matter,
Yeah, okay.
that's what, I didn't hear it correctly the first
Okay.
time.
No, my thought process was that like, once we're all in agreement, we're a subcommittee of the
Right.
council. This goes to the council looks at it and says, yeah, okay, go ahead.
All right, got it.
Any other edits or comments? And we will revise it, Ronnie, based on your comments and get it out to everybody. Hopefully in the next day or two, because I'd like it to be at the informal meeting next week. Comments?
I wanted to just get it in the weeds and maybe Donna and I looked at some language that it's not only eliminated as an access highway, it's eliminated as a truck route. And they say they're hesitant to eliminate it as a access highway. Unless just to make it clear that the intent is that no trucks will go on this route. And the difference being that access highways refer to specifically the special dimension vehicles. 53 feet, double trailers, things like that. And I just wonder if
Okay.
is that in the weeds or is that clarifying? You think that helps clarify? The
So
intent?
the language that is being used here is coming specifically from their manual. Because, when I have talked to them, they only speak the language in their manual. And so I decided I would use, and originally Donna had written it a little bit differently. And, I thought, because when I was talking to Lee, when he was pulling up the view of Hudson and so on, he said, well, wait a minute. You have two routes coming through here, you have two access routes. And he actually seemed surprised at that. But I think we can put that in, we can add language that if, eliminate this as an access highway and eliminate, through trucks on this road. Something like that.
I think another document that Don and I were looking at that talked about the de-designation of access highways, says that
Well,
just,
this was the one, yeah. this
yeah, the
was-
just de-designated means, just taking out the big trucks. But they don't like to do that.
Right,
But if you're gonna eliminate it completely as a truck route, they're more open to it, I think.
can you send me, if you haven't already sent me that document, can you send me that?
Sure, and I think Donna has it if she's working on the language, but yes, I will send it to you. Actually, you copied it today.
Yeah.
You sent it to me and copied
No,
mine.
I'm not
today.
sure that that applies to this letter to the DOT about eliminating 9G23B as a qualified access route, because it would go away.
Yeah,
So I don't think it would apply.
I did see correspondence around with the 3 foot trucks.
yeah, there's this weird thing of it being two different things. It's an access highway and it's a truck route.
Okay,
And a truck route means a 43-foot trailer, a dump truck, things like that. An access highway means special dimension vehicles that are 53 feet long or double trailers. And I guess the language that I read seemed to indicate that they don't like to just, if a truck route exists, they want to be able to allow the 53-foot truck.
gotcha,
But if you eliminate the truck route,
okay,
then there's no route, and they're okay with that.
okay.
And it's written in that document that was going around today.
Does this apply or not? I'm confused.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I feel like it does, but
I think we'll need to look at the truck book and how they define that, and then that memo, DOT memorandum.
I still think that as the city of Hudson, we need to do both.
Yes,
Even if they eliminate it as an access highway, we need to also eliminate it.
we need to eliminate the truck route for through trucks.
So wouldn't it impact local deliveries though?
Right.
They will continue.
So we have that revision. Would you, any of you want to send me, edits? Or do you want me to just proceed and send back, a revised version? Do we have any hands raised, Michael?
Susan Meyer.
Susan, go ahead.
Yes, I was just wondering if part of that letter, forgive me, I didn't know you could access those documents beforehand, but if part of that letter includes a study of how this will impact the other truck route that runs along Worth. Thank you.
That is a later, stage in the process. Because what, you begin by requesting a change. And then DOT comes back and asks for information on impact of this change on the community. And at that point, we would provide information. The next item on the agenda actually is a public hearing issue, which I want to get to, which would also address that. But in this letter, that would be premature to put that in yet, because they would be requesting information from us on impact.
Thank you.
So we will work on this. Jason, if you send me that document, I'll circulate it. So we all have it. Next item is, there's no document associated with this. Oh, there is, sorry, excuse me, it's the document that says alternate option matters. So as we start to plan for this, the question is, what is the timing of the public hearing? So again, going back to process, thinking that we start by requesting the change on the DOT. They may come back and say, no, we're not going to do that, we're not going to consider it. Or after getting more information from us and more documentation, and they say, yes, we can approve this. And if it's only at that point that we have a public hearing, it's only at that point that we can make a decision. So I think that would be the flow that I would prefer, so I'd like to get comments on that as a process.
It might be more useful to have the public weigh in. Go to them. Steve.
You guys are cutting off, can hear nothing.
Question is, Dewan, do we want to submit the letter first, see if it's plausible, and then decide to have a public hearing? Or to have a public hearing before the council votes to send the letter?
I got, okay.
Why I am suggesting that we have the public hearing once we move forward in the process, is that part of this process is that we have to put together documentation on impact and so forth, and this may take quite some time. And I think at the public hearing, that we should have information for the public that we shared with DOT on potential impact. Because what they said to me was, one of the things to look for on anything like this is impact on lower income or disadvantaged communities and so forth. That's the kind of thing they're looking for. And so we will need to put a package together. When they come back to us, we will need to put a package together for them. We may even have to do another study. I think we have a lot of data in the MJ, and Donna and I have been working through some more data in there. I think we have a lot of data in there. So we may end up having to do more.
I agree. I think we should send the letter and then hold a public hearing while we wait on their reply, as well as gather other data.
Is that your thought, Donna?
That'd be okay.
Yeah,
And while we're at the topic of public hearing, if I may suggest, if we can try to hold it on a weekend, because I think a lot of the affected people that live on Columbia Street are, very working class. It would be much easier for them to show up and voice their concerns about how these trucks affect their lives if it's, on a day that doesn't conflict with their work and things like that. I think that would be
Well, Ronnie, I think we know that. I think the question is how it's gonna affect the people on Worth Avenue and who will find the greater impact of truck traffic coming down Worth, going down Warren, going up Park. I mean, I think that, we know how people feel about it going through Third and up Columbia. Although I'm not saying that it shouldn't be speaking, but I think the people on Worth and East Warren and Park haven't really had much of a voice in this yet. So they're the ones, granted I live there, so it may seem self-interested, but they're the ones who I think really are unaware of the potential impact of this decision that the council will be making. And I know Susan is a neighbor, so that's probably why she just raised her hand. Margaret, she raised her hand.
Oh, sorry. No, where,
She got it down,
you had it raised earlier.
yeah.
So Linda, I want to come back to you.
Well, I
What do you
do,
think of this logic?
this committee was put together to talk about moving a truck route. And taking some of the pressure off, moving the truck route.
Mhm.
So we're moving part of the truck route, but I think. it would be better to inform people of the work of this committee before we send a letter so that everybody's aware. Then everybody has heard about it, talked about it. We can continue to move it forward, but I think, you know, it just does move a certain amount of traffic on another part of the city. And that is really, I mean, and I said it before, this is an advantage to the fourth ward, certainly. And I'm not sure what, in the first ward, is that,
I don't,
where does third go? Is
Yeah,
it,
that's first one.
yeah, first ward, to take, you know, Boys and Girls Club, the Maker, that whole strip will see less trucks. As well as the fourth ward. But to move all that uptown, I think uptown should be very clear about what we're doing, that's all. So that it's very transparent. Just that it's really clear what we're proposing, that DOT is going to look at.
I think DOT gonna do the study on this then, right? I believe.
we maybe,
We just-
what I was told by DOT was that typically they request a study of the impact. So I think the reason I would like to do the public hearing, once we get a response from DOT, is because at that point, we will have a public hearing with the information that we put together for relating to impact, depending on what questions they want us to address. And I think that if we have a public hearing where we don't have information to share with people, that we are just going to have a kind of
Storm.
data-free
Yeah, that's a good point.
conversation, and I would much rather have a meeting where we are putting something out there, being completely transparent. The decision may come down to, no, the community is against it, that's very much a possibility, that could happen. But I would like to do it, I can be able to inform people fully, as opposed to, oh, we think this, and maybe this is what might happen, maybe it won't. I just would rather have hard information.
Yes, we do need it, yeah. Before the public hearing, I think we should gather all the information and stuff like that. Then call for the public hearing.
Well, Donna and I have been putting together data, we've been going through the appendices and the details underneath the MD engineering study, and we've been putting together some information. I suspect, Dawn, that we're going to be asked to do a study that's very specific to this. So that is something that will probably have to happen after we submit. I do see a member of the public has a hand raised. Go ahead. Susan?
Yes, I believe you're going to have multiple meetings. I don't think the people on one of the truck routes in this community, that is the Worth Street truck route, know much about this. And to be clear, there are 2 truck routes in Hudson, and the people who live on them are impacted greatly by the truck traffic. And to take one truck route and put all of that traffic onto it, I think is a highly problematic non-solution to the problem.
There is one street that already has one traffic.
Yes, that's correct. The street in Hudson.
There's Green Street has
the
streets all
street
over
in
traffic,
Hudson-
both routes.
The
Both
street
routes
in Hudson
combined.
that has the most truck traffic is Green Street, because every route leads to Green, every single route.
And one other comment is that a while ago, this committee was looking at and meeting with neighbors. And I don't think it was ever made clear. I believe I've attended every meeting about why I mean, I kind of understand, but why are we on this? And I think on this solution, and why did we abandon eliminating truck routes altogether?
So, we
And
had, right. we
That's
had-
gonna be important to communicate.
So I briefed this committee, I think, I don't know, it was the last meeting or the meeting before. We had a meeting with people from this committee. Greenport, Claverack, DOT, Mayor's Office.
You should say who was at that meeting, I wasn't there,
You were not there, no.
so I don't know what happened.
Katie Barrett's office and, Hinchy's office.
And
So-
and governor.
And the governor's office. So this was, Dawn Abdus.
Yes.
Myself, and Donna from this committee attended. And then we had, Kathy, blanking on names, Kathy. Yeah, Kathy and Kippy from Greenport and, Claverack. And I'll get the attendance sheet of the other representatives. Gunnar was there from Dee's office. Karen from Michelle's and another representative from Michelle's office. And Lee attended from DOT. At that meeting, we went through, the option 12 and option 6. And they were rejected out of hand. As they would not even consider, either of those options. We cannot move forward with any of those options without support and buy-in from those, municipalities. I have met with Kathy a couple of times since, but at that meeting, Kippy suggested shutting down the traffic on Third Street. Because he was saying, you know, they're gonna go up 9 and some of them will just keep going up to Fells Pond, or they'll go, that's a much better route for trucks anyway. Yes, some will come down through Hudson, but some will probably just keep going straight. And that was actually a suggestion that came from him. Now, I then reached out to Kathy because, that route is Greenport on one side and, Hudson on another, the route going up, the 23 route. And that she was going to talk to people on her council and so forth. I reached out to her a couple of times. I have not gotten any progress there. And so at this point, having spoken to Lee, we are actually allowed to put this into DOT on unilaterally and say, we would like this one removed. That's where, how we didn't, we would very much like to do option 12. But in order to do that, and it could be that once we put this in place, that then option 12 may begin to look more attractive to the other municipalities, but they were very clear that they would not entertain anything around routes that were being suggested.
I still contend that option 6 is better.
Sorry,
That option 6 is better, it requires more construction, but
yes.
people need money for construction and they.
Well, actually, in one of our meetings with Phoebe's office, I was Phoebe herself, she made that point. That we shouldn't be making decisions based upon the cost necessarily, that money can be found. And that we should make it based upon what is the option. Because that, you're correct there, and that was, I think it was in the meeting we had in her office in January.
Yeah.
That was just a meeting where I think we're just a couple of us.
Well, this whole thing is kind of straight into another territory. This particular committee, because originally, part of it was about removing the truck route from Hudson. And seeing if we could meet with Claverack and Greenport to see if we could come up with a solution. That door shut. They're not interested in supporting that idea. That was to give some relief to lower Columbia Street, which this does not do.
We
Columbia Street is gonna continue to have local deliveries in general, so it's not gonna really solve Abduce's original request ultimately. So we're sort of now in a new territory where we're taking one piece of it and moving it, getting rid of it and moving all of it to upper Hudson. So I'm just trying to review where we started, where
So
we ended up.
the other piece, which is Lower Columbia. That I have met with the police department on that. I have come up with a revised memorandum. Unfortunately, I had met with Tibor a couple of times before he retired. I now need to go back to, I went through with him the map and the routes. And he, I think, has spoken also to others about that. And I need to go back now to the current acting chief. Say, okay, this is what we want, this is the memorandum we want to put in to replace 1976 memorandum, which does in fact address the Lower Columbia issue.
This is not excluding local deliveries, I mean, those, you know, and I
We cannot
want
exclude local.
to. Well, this is sort of the bane of the existence of what the complaint is, the real complaint that abuses the second ward suffers from is local deliveries. What we're doing now is not gonna really affect that. Because that truck route does not go on Second Street.
This is totally different. The below Third Street and the truck route is two different things.
And that's why I'm trying to sort of sort out and explain
Uh,
what happened,
excuse me,
where we are.
Can I say something? That's the true thing we have in number 12, number 6, whatever you say, the neighboring municipality support, cannot solve that. It will be round one place, years, come to come like that. So they are not agree that. Clear, they are not agree that. We are not only that, I personally meet Kathy, all of this, you know, they are not agree that. They're not saying anything they can do that. They point out also, they point out that, but they are not agree. But this is the issue we are fighting. When I was I see Linda was giving a sign that they stop the car and mind. But we can't solve the 20 years like that. I understand that it's a very difficult situation to do that. We have to come up, I believe that we have to come up less impact the community. 100%, we can do that. I was the initial complaint about the second one is heavy auto. This is only not a delivery, big truck auto, especially Colorado auto every time of distance. And that's a heavily people leave my ward than other ward. That area is more people living and older people, children. That is the reason I was complaining. I understand that we are city official, we are county official, we have a responsibility. Come up that, whatever possible. Whatever you think is possible, we have to send that. I know you cannot make it 100%, nobody happy. You cannot make any happy 100%, you can make any yourself 100%, you cannot say anything. What is the best you think? Whatever limited, step by step. I know also is the issue. I don't want to say that. One time also problem will be solved. Either this side or either other side. What will be decided anyhow? So whatever I say, think about it. We have a responsibility, how we solve the problem. We are coming so far, there's too much work. Margaret did, this committee did, Linda did, everybody, too much work that is coming to this. But we are coming to the same square, come to this place. I don't know how we will solve the problem initially. It will not happen there. In future, it will be in future, it not happen. That's my thing. So come on the idea all together, how the better. We cannot make any 100% happy anybody. Little bit, but you know, this is the one person. It's not a second one, it's not a whatever is not a good one. This is one person. And you have to think about the one person. Okay, so I made a petition as a town, I see that people are suffering health issue, all those things, and older people, too much traffic, and they're very close to, that's why I made a petition. Thank you.
So. My takeaway from this is that I am going to edit this document, the letter. It will go to the council. The council will determine whether or not we can send it. I think that most people who have spoken favor moving forward with this process and doing a public hearing. When we have a response back from DOT asking for information, then at that point, we can gather information, we can have a public meeting, and we can share that. And I do think, Ronnie's point is very important. I understand, Tom, that, you know, we have heard, the issues in the second ward, indirectly for the most part from their representatives. But I do think that it is very, very important to have public meetings scheduled in a way that facilitate public attendance. And so I think Ronnie's point about trying to do it on a weekend, is a good one.
I was
So-
disagreeing with that.
No, but after he commented, you indicated, well, we've heard a lot from the second ward.
No, I just wanted to say that the balance so far has been imbalanced because the worth to that other route has not been represented here much in these conversations. It's been really all about Columbia and Third, that's all I'm saying.
Okay. So, I'll go ahead with these edits. Jason's gonna send me that document, which I will circulate to everybody. We'll get some edits together. Donna and I are working on compiling, data from the detail tables in the study. Which look at, the potential impact of this. They look at the size of the trucks, whether they are, you know, it's by using the destination data. We were actually able to find some things in there, so we'll be working on that and get that out to everybody. And that's all I have for the agenda for tonight, those two items.
I have one question.
Yes.
You said study. Who does that study?
That will have to be, if they come back, right, if they come back and say they want a formal study, we will have to, and we still have some money left from the money to
Okay.
give us. We will have to.
So
have-
that's on us to make that study.
We would have to do, well, not us.
No, I understand.
We would have to have a vendor,
Okay.
yes.
I would just question too. The letter does tell the DOT that we have done this study and you're welcome to share it with them.
Yeah.
So there may be information because it's.
That's already existing.
Right. There is a lot of data in the engineering.
No, I understand. I just was curious about who does that study. And it's the city that does it.
Yes, that's what Lisa, but he was laying out what typically happens. Because I thought that the discussion would be with him and no, he directed me towards his other. Anything else? Oh, we have a hand up, I think. Vicky, go ahead.
Hi, I am going back. I was trying to add that I'm very skeptical of the turn on 7th Street Park. I really think there's a big difference of a car taking a turn on a huge truck and how often this is going to be happening, how much it will affect the park and the activities there. And I don't know if we're doing a study, if there is any study of how turns of trucks can be dangerous and they can really stop the traffic in general. And it's dangerous for pedestrians too. So I would like to include that in if there's any future study towards that. That's all.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Susan, your hand is still up. I don't know whether you have another comment.
Yes, I was wondering, so there will be a new study, was that conclusive?
No, it's not, because once we contact DOT, then they come back to us with the information that they require, and what I was told by the, forgetting his title, he is in our district for DOT, he is our contact. The process he laid out to me was that typically they will come back and request a study on the impact of the change on the community at large.
And then there was the comment that there already is a study. Did the study that was done study particularly have data points for how changing the truck route, as you're talking about, would impact Upper Hudson? Thank you.
It's done before, it's available on the city website. If you go to the city and you type in the search M.J. and hang on, engineering.
I believe I read it back when it was made, but I'm just asking, I don't remember the details of it. And I'm just asking, did it indeed study the impact that this current decision that's on the table, the impact that it would have on Upper Hudson?
So the study that was done looked at the current traffic and came up with a series of proposals to route all traffic around and out of Hudson. And so it came up with 12 different alternatives that involved other municipalities and so forth. And those were the alternatives that we had a discussion with the other municipalities on that they have rejected. So it is not specific to this particular issue, but there's data in there that we've been able to mine, which enables us to estimate the number of trucks that would end up almost certainly on Worth, based upon not allowing the through traffic to go up Columbia, to come in Paragon.
But to confirm, it didn't specifically study, right? And
No.
okay, thank you.
I'm happy to get a copy of that study to you if you are interested. If you have an email that you want to send me, I can send you a copy of that study.
No, as I said, I remember reading it and I know where to find it. Thank you.
No problem. Jason.
I just wanted a personal observation. I saw a 53-foot truck this week. I was following it, turned from Warren onto Park Place, turning right, headed west, turning right. It made the corner very wide. As it got onto Park Place, it kind of stayed in the left lane all the way to Columbia because there's no one coming. I imagine if a truck was sitting there waiting, it would have been an impact. I also saw the UPS double trailers, which we do have, going the opposite direction, headed, I guess, south on Park Place and turning east onto Warren Street. So those already happen. They're legal to happen because that's also an access highway. So there may be a larger volume of them and they might impact each other more often, but they happen already.
I mean, the only ultimate advantage might be that it just becomes more miserable to come into Hudson. If this happens. Because it really creates a bigger bottleneck uptown. Just describing, hearing what he's talking about. It becomes a more cumbersome, overwhelming, maybe it just says, we'll forget Hudson. But that's another really great way to experiment with moving the trucks out of here.
Just a FYI, the MJ truck study did have information about additional time that it would add to the truckers by rerouting with the alternative routes. And one of them was to go around the city to take 9H, which would be the ideal because then they're avoiding Hudson altogether. And it doesn't add much more time. So some truckers may just, naturally, go past. Of course, they can't take 9G23B if that's eliminated, but go past Route 9 to 9H and take a left and avoid
And then
coming through the city. So
at the moment, while it's on the truck route and while it's in GPS, you have trucks coming in because that's where they were directed to go.
Something I've brought up before, sorry if I'm talking too much, but, it's always seems to be implied a little bit at times that these are through trucks. Many of these trucks are headed to Green. Not only Colarusso, Archer Daniels Midland, Yonder Farms, Ginsburg, Greenport is a trucking capital. They telling us it's our problem. All of the businesses that these are going to are in Greenport.
That's correct.
53-foot trucks are leaving Yonder Farms.
Yes.
The noisiest, fastest drivers are ADM. The gravel trucks drive slowly, they're good drivers, there's a large volume of them, but ADM is the worst offenders, and Walmart has the big trucks, and Lowe's has the big trucks, these are all going to Greenport, these are the biggest problem.
Yes, that is correct, and they are through trucks, and they,
They're through trucks to us,
yes,
they're not through trucks to the region, I guess. You know,
Well, no,
I think
they-
I've
they-
heard of other people say,
No.
oh, they're going out
Oh, no, no,
nine
no,
to
no,
Albany, they're going.
our definition, maybe we need to clarify what we mean by through trucks here. Through truck is a truck that is going somewhere other than destination within the two square miles plus. They are, part of what is very frustrating is that they're coming from Greenport on one side. And then they're going to Greenport on the other side,
Exactly.
and they could go around. But instead, they come through Hudson with no benefit trucks.
Margaret, would it be possible to call up the county map? I just think it would be helpful for people to see the dilemma that we're facing with Hudson.
I
being
think
surrounded.
we probably, like, everybody has a copy of it, and
There it
I think we know what the issue is.
Can we make it bigger if I can?
Yeah.
No, we're sitting in the middle of Greenport. They're coming up,
Yeah.
20. The Amazon.
Now, a long time ago, I wrote Ginsburg's letter, asking them to say, well, Hudson so much from here, business started here, would they consider not coming to Hudson? And he said, no. They would not consider it because it. That was one strategy, just go to different, see. Stop. Ginsburg said. They come through here constantly.
Bring them over to the. Who are the weak? They're going to bring. Nice.
They wouldn't do that. That would be convenient. That's my point before, that you squeezing them out. This is a strategy. Push it away.
I believe you all are having sound issues. I don't know if it's just me, though.
No, I'm having to.
Anyway, this idea of squeezing them out of Hudson is a potential concept. Because the Ginsburg issue would be, it's inconvenient now, let's go around.
And the corner that Vicky mentioned is a big part of that,
Yes. Turning that corner is a big headache.
especially in two directions.
Yeah. And if Roastery puts their tables out there further, and there's more people drinking coffee and getting in the way of the trucks.
And then they-
To be a better strategy.
Okay, so, we will continue with what we're doing. I know it's very, very frustrating, and I think, people on this committee are very committed to trying to find a problem, and find a solution. And I think we just have to keep at it, and we have to keep attacking it from multiple angles. And, you know, just because we can't get Greenport and Claverack on board to discuss other options with us, then we have to try to do something for our city. And I do agree very much about this, that we are one community and that we have to function as one community and try and do what is the best for as many of us as possible. Unfortunately, anything relating to Caruso is off the table for this committee, but that certainly is a large part of your problem. Second ward, but that's not up for discussion for us, which is unfortunate, because that's a big part of this process.
I'm hoping that we can do something rather than nothing.
Yes, let's do something.
And maybe, you know, multiple steps. It may
Yes.
not be one size fits all, but there may be other things we can do down the road to help alleviate the problem.
So can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, thank you all.